Hello everyone, I am Akash Rajpuria once again back with you to explain you the new concept today and a new journey starting, that is advanced Python. Up till now we have seen the basic Python. Okay, we have completed that in Hindi, but from going now it would be in English. So if you want in Hindi also, just do comment, you would get the video on Hindi also. So let's get started and let's understand what is the first topic that we are going to learn today. In advanced programming, in advanced Python, we are going to see first today, that is object-oriented programming, as you have seen the description and the video title. I would take you to my screen. Keep the video here, and this is our first session for object-oriented programming. First session. So I would write here session 1. Let's get started. I would just make it full screen so that we can only focus on the screen. That's it. Okay. So now, before I explain you that what is object-oriented programming, I would first explain you why do we need object-oriented programming. Super important. So now, up till now, we have seen that is definitions, the functions. So for example, I can create a function with any name. Inside that, we can have parameters, without parameters. We would define some variable inside it and we would print here n. Something like that we would do. Now, think for a minute that this is right now the scenario, and the same program is used by two users at the same time. Let's use, we have Gajodhar and we have Ballu. So we have these two candidates who are using this function at the same time. Understand from the stories, you will never forget it. So now Gajodhar would use this function, and let's say n value we are using from the user. Okay, so whatever value a user give, that value we would put in n. So imagine for a minute Gajodhar start using this. Okay, and he has said the a value should be 5. But at the same time, the moment Gajodhar entered, used this program, at the same time Ballu also used it. And he used 6 there. So what would happen? When the same program is used by multiple users, a value would be 5 first. Before printing the n value, before printing 5, Ballu entered this function. So what would happen? Basically, the n value would be completely changed. And instead of 5, it would be 6 now. And Gajodhar and Ballu, both of them would get a response as 6. This is the real problem. Understand it. Right now, you can imagine the websites, the Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, millions of users use them at the same time. Here, two users also cannot use them at the same time. So to solve this problem, we have a very, very cool concept called as object-oriented programming, like the DAB, object-oriented programming. So we will see this completely in detail. So that is the reason why do we need object-oriented programming. So first of all, we have understood with the story very simple, then that whenever we have multiple users, we would use object-oriented programming. Now think for a minute, whatever the domain is, whether it is medical domain, civil domain, electric domain, or any other domain, any company, does it make it for single user? No, every company make it for multiple users, millions of users they make. So just imagine that in industry, all the time, one and only thing is used, that is object-oriented programming, where you create the objects. I would explain you this in more detail, what is objects and all that. Let's get started with the first part for today, that is object-oriented programming. So if you have understood this in detail, comment that, okay, you like the example or not. So we have object-oriented programming. Okay, now while typing fast, I may make mistakes, make the spelling mistakes, we can correct it afterwards. More important here is the topic understanding. So coming back to the part, what is object? Now to understand object, you need to first understand class. What is class? So now think for a minute, whenever you do anything, first you prepare a plan for that. Imagine that you are making a building of 10 floor or 1 floor. You would first make a map. Imagine that you're making a car. You would make a map for it. In short, you say it as blueprint. If you make a mobile phone, you make a blueprint for that. If you make a keyboard, if you make a mic, if you make anything, you make blueprint for that. In simple terms, you make a plan before execution. You make a plan before execution. So this plan exactly is called as class. This is exactly called as class. For example, if I want to make a animal, so I would write here class animal. So see, my class is made. It is as simple as that. You are able to make the first class, that is class animal. Now you can write inside that whatever comments you want to write. I would explain you what are these doc strings and everything. That is not important right now. We would understand the basics. We created a class. But what is the use of it? Class basically defines the overall picture, that how a general animal would look like. For example, every animal would have legs, right? Yes, yes. Every animal would have legs. Every animal would have some sound. Okay, like barking, roaring. Every animal would have some sound. Every animal would have a tail. So whatever is the basic structure that you defined in class, So for example, I am not defining here the height, because giraffe can have a big height and a dog can have a short height, and both of them are animals. So the common things you define in starting of the class. But to define that, you need a function called as underscore underscore two underscore init, again two underscore, then bracket, and now inside this you define that. But Akash, why do we need this? This is called as initialization. Okay, which means to start something. This is also called as a constructor. What is constructor? You would understand each and everything in detail. But first, just let's go it slowly, step by step. So we created a function. It is like a normal function which you have created here. But very important is you should write underscore underscore init and underscore underscore. This is a special function. What is special in that? I would explain you. Now tell me, I have written here name and I said print n. Just comment it, like, do we get the answer here? What I mean to say is, if I don't call this, if I want to run this function, I need to call them that, okay, name function, and the value inside that I need to give something. So then only it would be able to print. See, it is able to print here 10. But it needs a call. This is very important. A call is required. And that is the speciality of this function. Trust me, guys, this function does not require a call. Without call, this function is called. But Akash, how? Again, we will see that. But first, I have created legs. So I'm saying that the legs are 4. Okay. Right now, sound would also differ from animal to animal. So that I would not write it here. Okay. You can define a sound. Okay. But that would be changing from user to user. So I would not write it. And I would say that the tail is equals to 1. Okay. Simple. Now, what I will do, I would call this function. Now see that I would also print here that print see the magic. I am automatically called. See the magic, I am automatically called. Now see that. When I run this, see, you see that I have run this cell, but still it is not called. Yes, because you have just created a blueprint. Imagine that you want to make a building of 10 floors. And right now, you just created a blueprint that, okay, this is how my building will look. Now, you need to create an object for that. That is object-oriented programming. So, I would explain you this object. You can give any name to it. Let's say I'm saying that name 1. Any random name you can take. Okay, let's take this animal as dog. Dog equals to animal, the class name, and the round brackets. That's it. Now see the magic. One error we got. First, we will solve this. This is very interesting error. And you would understand the next concept with this. See, I'm not saying that this concept, this concept, this concept. But when you understand it step by step, the concepts are already clear. So, like I said, animal in it takes zero positional argument, but you are giving one argument. What does this mean? Imagine this, we have a function. I would replicate this error because a good developer is someone who understands the error. So I would write here nothing. And now I would pass this 10 to this function. Okay, now see that. Exactly same error, that it takes zero argument, but you have given one. Function takes zero argument. See, there are zero argument. Argument means the variable which is there inside this bracket. So there are no variables, that is zero argument. Okay, but still we are giving one argument, that is 10. But Akash, you are giving nothing in animal. So how it says that it gives one positional argument? Here comes your superhero for the session. Okay, I would take this class exactly in the same way. Define it once again down so that you understand it step by step. And again, I would call it. But a small difference. I would write here self. What is self? You would understand it. But see, our error would be gone. And yes, the first thing that you got is, see the magic, I am automatically called. Automatically called. So I have not said any time call init. That is the speciality of init. Okay, whenever you create an object, so your animal is the class and dog is the object for it. And this solves your real industry problem. So in your industry, like I said, when you use the same program, when a user uses the same program and multiple user uses the same program, it can result in conflict. You may get wrong results. But in this case, it would not be that. I would explain you how. So let's go it step by step. First of all, everyone understood that this function is automatically called. I don't need to call it. Second thing, what is this self? So now, as I want our two users, that is Ballu and Gajodhar, I want these two users should have separate memory, separate program, so that they could not conflict between each other. I do not want that. So what I will do, I would create a complete object for Ballu and a complete different object for Gajodhar. So they will never ever intersect or collide and will give you wrong results. Never it would happen. How? So now see, let's imagine that instead of Ballu and Gajodhar, we would imagine here dog and cat. So this is one object. In the same way, you would create cat also using animal. And see, you get 2 times the thing printed, and these two are totally different objects, which means that dog would never interfere with the cat. And in this way, if you have millions of animals also, they would not interfere with each other. And the first problem when we started the session, that is solved. I would show you the demo for this also, and you would understand what is self also. Okay, you would understand it. First, I would explain you using a concept called as, so see, this was a normal constructor. I would create here a parameterized constructor also, like, which means I would pass here the sound also. Very interesting, pay attention. So there are 2 things I would write here, self.legs and self.tails. And one more thing, self.sound equals to sound. Each and every line I would explain you. Okay, and then we will pause the video and take the look in the another video. So this small thing we will understand now. So what I did here, and I would print also. Okay, nothing to print. I would show you this step by step. So I created an init function. Init means initializing, which means creating the plan. And majorly we write here the common stuff. So now I said that the legs are already fixed. All animals would have 4 legs and all animals would have 1 tail. This is what I have fixed it. But Sound is not fixed. And real here you would understand the magic. I would create once again the object this time. But this time I need to also give the sound. If I don't give the sound, we will get the same error that sound is not defined. So I would give an sound. So for dog, it is bhau, bhau. Okay, and for cat, it is meow, meow. Okay, now see the real magic. Both the objects are created, automatically these functions are called. And now, whenever you create an object, forget about cat right now. Forget about cat. When you create an object dog, this dog is passed inside the cell. And this bhau bhau will go inside the sound. That is the reason you were getting an error here. That it takes one argument. This dog was being passed. This dog was being passed to this init. But init does not have here anything. That is the reason we have returned their self. Now, self is not important. You can write any other stuff. Your name also you can write it. But it is a common convention that always use self. Because if other programmer is using your code, he should understand that. So now, this self means that the dog is passed inside this self. I would show you the proof also for that. And now when I do self.legs, it is actually dog dot legs. When I do self.tail, it is actually dog dot tails. And when I do here self.sound, it is actually dog dot sound. You would trust me right now. See, dog sound is bhau bhau. So if I do here dog dot sound, okay, dog dot sound, you would see that it is exactly bhau bhau. It will never get confused with the another object that is cat. This is what I was waiting to explain you. And same thing if you do for cat dot sound, you would see that it is meow meow. It would never intersect between each other. So in simple terms, to just summarize all the thing, we create a class, we initialize it. Then inside that initialization, okay, you can use this parameters also, that is called as parameterized constructor. And every object can have different parameters. So the same program, different users. So for example, one more class I would create class that is circle. And inside circle, I would do simple thing that is def underscore init underscore and self for that. And after that, I would just do here, I would calculate the, I would take the radius from a user. So I would write here R and self dot radius equals to R. So whatever radius user would enter, we would have that. And then the last, we will print area of circle is, and we will just do the multiplication, that is pi 3.14 into R into self dot radius. Understand, you need to do self dot radius here. Self dot radius into self dot radius. Okay, now see, I would create an object again, like I explained you in the same way, and we can give any name to it. Let's say we give here Gajodhar circle. Okay, and the radius for him is 10. Same way, we would keep a circle for Ballu, and we would give him the radius of 1. Now see, for Gajodhar, the area of circle is different, and for Ballu, it is different. So they will, at the same time, even if you run it, you would never get that conflict. Because that is object-oriented programming. That object get passed here, and every object, like imagine you have a computer, one for your object that is Gajodhar, everything related to Gajodhar would be stored, and everything related to Ballu would be stored in another object. And you can access that using dot. That is exactly your object-oriented programming. Now see the proof for self. Okay, this is the proof for self that, okay, Gajju is passed in self. I would show you that. So just let's write here a simple print statement, that is print ID of self. Okay, we would remove this Ballu for a minute. Print ID of self. Now you might know it, that ID of self means, or basically what does ID does? ID would show you like it is like you can imagine as an address that in a computer where it is stored. So you would get some address here in ID. So I'm showing you that the self address and the Gajodhar address would be same, which means they are exact same thing. So print here ID of Gajodhar. Okay, so let's create a yes. Now see that this is what I was explaining you. Okay, now imagine that this is Ram and this is Sham. So like Ram, Sham, this look different, but they are same person. Exactly, you can see this with an ID. So I printed here Gajodhar's ID. Imagine that as a voting card for Gajodhar. Simple. That is some number it is there. And you see that exactly same number is there for self also, which means that the voting card of Gajodhar and self are exactly same, which means that they are exactly same. But this would be different for Ballu. Okay, just remember that this would be totally different for Ballu. So I would write here instead of Gajodhar, I would write here Ballu. So see, it is different. The ID is different for Ballu and Gajodhar, but Ballu and self would be the same thing. So this is called as object-oriented programming. So in this, what we have understood how to create a class, very simple, how to write a constructor using def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, how to pass a parameter inside it, and how to create an object. So this was the complete thing. If you really like it, do subscribe and mention in the comments what you have liked, what you have not liked. If you really like it, keep smiling, everyone. We will meet in the next session. Till then, keep smiling, keep smiling, keep smiling. Bye-bye, everyone.